Cars heading out to pit road, led by James Thompson, Rob Huff and Mikhail Kozlowski, the three Lukoil larders, as the entire field goes out into Q1. So for those who've not watched it before, or just to recap, because it's been a while, first qualifying session, all cars go out on track and everybody tries to set their fastest times. Now, if you're outside the top 12 from 13th on down, that's where you will start both races. So those positions are locked in. Top 12 go through into Q2, and then the fastest 5 from Q2 go through into Q3, and they decide the first 5 positions on the grid for race 1. Everybody else's position in Q2, 6th on down, decides the positions for race 1's remaining grid. If you're 11th and 12th, that's where you start for both races, because the top 10 after Q3 is reversed for the race 2 grid. So if I have to explain it too many times, that means that we need to do something a little bit more straightforward. But what we do end up with is a single car shootout at the end, and Harry Volkard, the fastest drivers in the fastest cars, all going with no excuses, no traffic, no. One lap, fresh set of tyres, get out there and make the best of it, and that's, you know, an entertaining way to finish your qualifying session. Yeah,
it's a really good system, and it's something which we've seen in other forms of motorsport. Formula 1 did it for a year, and qualifying is always down to that all-important one lap, so it does kind of put the pressure on the drivers. So you're not just seeing the top 5 who are always in the shootout anyway, but you're seeing the top 5 who literally have that one lap, and we see quite a lot of mistakes, even from the really experienced guys. You know, it's so easy to just, you know, go a little bit wide, run a little bit wide, put a wheel in the wrong place, or, you know, a little slide in the middle of the corner, and that can be all important. And they're obviously hearing over the radio where their rivals are and what times they've done, so they're firing at that, and it's a really good way of ending the qualifying.
We see there that the Larders have dropped in behind the Chevrolet of Tom Chilton. Jimmy Thompson hoping to pick up a bit of a slipstream from him. Short front straight leads into a long right-handed corner 1. This is turn 2, and then right-handed turn 3, and turn 4 leads you out onto the back straight. So this sort of loop here, basically the main straight comes in behind where they are running. Just, you can see it just there in the foreground, in fact. And you used to come down the pit straight, turn right, and then, you know, kilometre or whatever of front straight out of back straight. As it is, it's still a long straight, and that means, of course, you're setting up for a big break and overtaking opportunities at the end of it, hopefully.
Yeah, we've seen last year, we saw quite a lot of overtaking manoeuvres being done on that straight. It will be interesting to see the difference, because a lot of the difference of this new format of car is they punch a bigger hole in the air, but the slipstreaming effect seems to be less than it has been in previous years, and that was certainly what we were seeing last year. People were coming out of 3 and 4 and tucking in behind someone and managing to put a move on them into 5. So yeah, I don't know if we'll see that this year, but it's certainly a good opportunity to pass people.
Well, Chilton at the moment with his personal best, but fastest first sector was from Ivan Muller, but is now being beaten by Norbert Mikelic, who's only just arrived yesterday. Mikelic took 3 days to get to Argentina from Hungary. Flight out of Budapest, his first leg of his journey was delayed, so he missed his connection, and a day late had to make a 4-city zigzag across the globe to get to Argentina. So he missed free practice on Thursday, or free practice 0, it's an untimed practice, and then did free practice this morning. He's quickest in sector 1 and in sector 2. Chilton with the fastest lap of the moment. Thompson in 4th place, and boy, Rob Huff in 3rd. If the Larders can produce any more speed, then this would be a great opportunity to do it.
I know that the Larder team have been doing quite a bit of testing between the last round and this round at Spa, and certainly in testing this morning on free practice, we've seen Rob Huff up there, and he had a 9th and a 10th in FP1 and FP2. It'd be good to see him getting in the mix, and he was a reasonable way ahead of the rest of his teammates, his other 2 teammates. Quite a lot of guys behind him there that you probably wouldn't expect to stay there.
Yeah, qualifying record 1:47.9. Fastest lap at the moment, Norbert Mikelic 1:45.1. We should go quicker.
Yeah,
this is just the opening foray, so they'll be using tired tyres.
In FP1, the fastest lap was a 43.8, so I think we'll be seeing, what do you think, maybe 42s?
I would think you'd be
low 42s, high 41s.
Definitely, yeah. We should be 5 seconds and more quicker than we were last year, because the cars are more powerful, they've got more rubber, bigger brakes, better aerodynamics. You know, every element in the car except for the driver perhaps has been highly modified over the winter, so they look different and they perform very differently. Norbert Mikulits then in the black Zengo Motorsport Honda, fastest from Jose Maria Lopez, and Tom Chilton third, Sebastian Loeb fourth, René Munich fifth. Now Munich was outside the top 12 in his car earlier on. There's Zoltan Zengo, or Mr. Zengo as it says on his headset, the boss of Zengo Motorsport. Of course, Honda in the break have built a 6th Civic chassis. They were originally 5, the 3 factory cars plus 2, one for Zengo and one for Pro Team. And then they had a spare chassis which they were intending to use as a test car until Gabriele Tarquini wrote his race car off in the first race weekend in Marrakesh, and immediately then had to be pressed into service as a race car next week in Paul Ricard. And it's been until this break that there's actually been enough time at Yas to complete another chassis. So there are now 6. It's in fact the 7th they've built, but it is the 6th current chassis because the other one is well, probably in a skip somewhere, I should think. So first flurry is over. Mikulits, Lopez, Chilton, Loeb, Muller, Munich and Muller rather, and then Mehdi Benani, Rob Huff, James Thompson and Hugo Vallant. So you can see down to 12th place with Tom Coronel and Gianni Morbidelli. Outside Dusan Borkovic, Mikhail Kozlowski, Franz Engstler and John Philippi. Well, of those, Dusan Borkovic, you can imagine, could easily be in the top 12. So it's not guaranteed by any means. Now, if Lada have found more speed, and they seem to have a little bit, Harry, as well as Honda finding a bit more speed, we could see just a little bit more jiggling of the order. John Philippi in the TC2 Seat, Campos Racing cars. Only one Campos Racing Seat, beg your pardon, yes there is, only one Seat here this weekend. They are also running, of course, the 2 Chevys for Hugo Vallant and Dusan Borkovic.
Apparently Pepe Oriola's coming back for the Macau round. I don't know if that'll be an extra Seat, and it's certainly in the TC2 category, so right. I don't know if that's going to be a second Seat or whether it'll be this car without Philippi in it.
Well, they have got a second car which they've been running earlier on in the season. They just don't seem to have managed to find anybody here, so that'll be quite interesting. That's back to his roots really, isn't it? Because of course he started off in the Seat, then made the big impression with that, then a bigger impression with the Chevy last year, and they just couldn't quite get a deal together to run. They wanted to run a Chevrolet this year, and I think they kind of got a bit left at the starting gate.
Yeah, he'd been out testing in the Chevrolet pre-season, and I think he even tested one of the Hondas as well, so he's got the intention to be out there. And you know, Pepe is a really good driver. We saw him have some great results last year and taking it to the works teams and the Bamboo guys who were leading the series at the time. And you know, he's got the ability. He just needs the funding like so many drivers.
Yeah, you know, in the Chevy last year, he was a genuine podium contender every time out. So young driver, lots of potential, current and also for the future. So as John Philippi completes his lap, probably wise to send him out on his own so he doesn't have to worry about anybody else and ruining their times. The rest of the field will start to head out. Huff and Thompson already gone out, and you can imagine that they'll be towing each other round. Tarquini and Montero, the Castrol factory Hondas, haven't gone out together, but Gabriele has got Mehdi Benani and Tom Coronel behind him. Coronel looking for a towing partner there.
Good to see Coronel back out as well. He had a bit of a fire in FP2 I saw on his Facebook before, and it must have caused quite a lot of damage because there was some concern over whether he'd be out in qualifying at all, and they had to put a new turbo on the car, so good to see him back out there.
Well, it's always a thing, you know, these cars are always going to have a fire in the electrical system somewhere, aren't they? You know, that's the big drama. It doesn't matter if it scorches a bit of paint under the bonnet. It doesn't matter, you know, it's the wiring that's going to melt, and that's the stuff that takes forever to sort out. You know, if your turbo fails, you can bolt it on and bolt a new one, bolt it off, bolt a new one on. But if your wiring loom is toast, then you know that's a day and a half to get it to work. These things are fairly basic in that they don't have, you know, indicators, lights, you know, sway control and all the other stuff that your road car does, but you need the electrics.
Yeah.
You can't live without them.
The electrics which control the how the turbo comes in and stuff, it's very important, and it is very complex as well, and obviously everything's custom, and they will have spare looms, but it's not a small job to change the loom in a car. But generally speaking, what they do, they'll have like a front loom which is on the engine, just to separate it. So if you do have an engine fire or something goes down in the engine loom, you can just disconnect that and whack a new one in, which saves you having to take the whole, the entire system out of the car, and does speed things up, but it's still a big job. It's
serviceability, isn't it? I mean, that's what you need, is, as you say, as many components unboltable instantly from each other as possible, and anything that's forward of the firewall, and it doesn't have to be a fire, it can just as easily get torn up in a crash. And because of electricity leaks out of everywhere, doesn't it? So you can have what looks like a perfectly intact wire, because the insulation's intact, it can be broken inside, and then the car won't start even. It won't run in any way, shape or form. And trying to find those breaks, that's the difference between electricity and water. You can see a water leak, see an oil leak, see a fuel leak, can't see an electricity leak.
No,
not till you touch it.
Yeah, exactly. Got a little buzz off it, then it's leaking.
Yeah. Electricity is the devil's work. Can't see it, can't hear it, can't smell it, and it kills you. So Mikhail Kozlowski on a quick lap. Huff and Thompson also starting fast laps of their own. And Gabriele Tarquini was starting one here, just got a little bit much oversteer. There's some oil down there from the Class 3 race, the Saloon Car Championship.
Yeah, we saw that just before this. There was one of those guys had what looked like his car had chucked the leg out of bed or something, and there's a big plume of oil came out the back of it right in the middle of turn 1. So that could be a result of what we just saw there, because that was a big slide on the turn-in for Gabriele.
Well, unless they're not getting the temperature into the rear tyres they want. Honda have come up with a little package of improvements. Lada have as well. Apparently the car has been shedding some weight as well over the summer. I wish I could say the same. Obviously it's not been sitting eating, but yeah, the car's shed a little bit of weight, and they're hoping for a bit more. And of course they're now looking to introduce a brand new car as well, and from what I understand, there is likely to be a very significant input from Udo Schonach's Orica company, and that will really help to move the program along.
Yeah, Orica are well regarded and have done so many things in everything from sports cars to touring cars over the years, so they would be a big help for Lada. And that was one of the major issues that Lada have had. That car has always been over their minimum weight, as in they can't quite achieve what their minimum weight could be, so it's always run heavy, and you see the weight differences to compensate the weights, and 10-15 kilos in a touring car can make the difference between qualifying pole or 3rd or 4th or 5th on the grid. So if you can't get your car to base weight, that's a major struggle to start with. And we also know there are a few other issues with the Lada, to say the least, but they are making steps forwards clearly, and it's good to see the guys up there.
Gianni Morbidelli 10th fastest, that's a personal best for him. Dusan Borkovic just in front of him at the moment in 9th. René Munich in 8th. That's the other black and white Munich Motorsport car, the All-Inkle team. 7th Rob Huff, 6th Sebastian Loeb, 5th Tom Coronel, 4th Tom Chilton, 3rd Jose Maria Lopez, 2nd Mehdi Benani, 1st now Ivan Muller. Now that is a lap that he will park and sit on.
I wondered what was going on with Muller there. He was sat in 12th and had done the same amount of laps as everybody else, so obviously just been cruising and decided he's going to have a go at it. Yep,
that's all he needs. One lap, that's him through into Q2. There's not going to be 13 improvements, not by that much. That's a 1:44.9 he's just set. René Munich only 3800ths away though. So that's a good lap from René Munich, 5th position. This is on target to be his best run of the season so far. Teammate Gianni Morbidelli down to 11th now. Don't forget, it's the top 12 that go through. So Tomo is in, Huff is in, Kozlowski 13th, and in the pit lane is the 3rd Lada going to come back out. There's the All-Inkle team. Morbidelli's on another flyer, but he's losing grip, look. First sector only 0.4 away, second sector 1.2 seconds away, so this is going to be a 2.5 second away lap. He's going to come in at the end of this. And at the moment, he's a little bit in the lap of the gods, as is James Thompson in 12th. It's down to whether somebody else improves or not. They've got 5 minutes. They could come out again. Question is, are they going to have another set of tyres that they want to compromise their weekend by running now in the vain hope of improving a little?
Lopez just gone pole.
Lopez fastest of all, and of course in the headset with his back to us there, Dominic Greiner. He was the man who was engineering Jose Maria Lopez last season when he was Dominic there with the glasses, when he was running in the BMW in the Vika Sport team.
Yeah, that was I mentioned it before, but it was a real standard performance, and nobody expected a win out of him. I mean, it was his first World Touring Car race, and he managed to take a win. But we do know that this circuit's pretty high on front tyre wear, and that would have contributed to the win. But you know, he drove it fantastically, and obviously started reverse
superbly. Yeah, the reverse grid and all of that worked in his favour. But you know, bear in mind he'd been in the TC 2000 Championship in Argentina for several years. Hadn't driven a rear drive car since he was in GP2, so 5 or 6 years previous, and all the TC 2000 cars, despite the fact that they look like big rear-engined or front-engined rear-drive V8 supercars, are all front-wheel drive.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's big V8, but it's a front-wheel drive tyre scrubber. So to translate what he knew about, and when he'd raced about 6 weeks earlier on this track, it was absolutely hosing down the entire weekend. It made a wet weekend at Croft look like a positive, you know, day in the sun. It was vile and cold and miserable, so he had no preparation at all for what the BMW was going to do. So yeah, and there's no question he really flagged himself up there as a and you know, we're talking to him earlier in the season as we watch Hugo Vallant here on another quick lap, also trying to get himself into the top 12.
Yeah, it looks like Vallant's got a lot of turn and oversteer again. We're seeing this from a lot of the cars, but he's had a couple of moments there early in the lap, so I don't know if this is going to be enough, but he should get another lap out of it.
He seems to be very tail happy all the time. At the moment he's only 14th, and that car should be in the top 12. But Jose Maria was offered the chance to come and drive in the World Touring Car Championship by the Argentine Federation, and he went, oh, it was like his only weekend off in about 12 weeks, and he went, oh, come on, can you find somebody else? No. And in the end, they said, oh, come on, Jose, come on. You know the Europeans, no. So anyway, he ended up going, oh, right, okay, I'll do it. You know, and the expectations were that, you know, of nothing. You know, just show up, be an Argentine, be on the grid, And look where it's led him. It's led him to a phone call from the Citroen team, come and test for us, Christmas present from the Citroen team saying we'd like you to drive for us, and from day one he's been the championship leader with all the attention being on his stellar teammates.
Yeah, he's done really well to land that drive from the results that he's had. I mean, he's done very well in Argentine touring cars, but yeah, there's Vallant just gone up to 9th, so he has improved.
Hugo is in, and that pushes James Thompson out of the top 12, but Thompson is still on track. So I wonder if he's got a lap going or not. It's always his car, it's always Vallant's car. You don't see Dusan Borkovic's car half as taily as his. Vallant's car is always like it's on the lock stops half the time, and it looks airy and floaty. And you know, from Paul Ricard all the way through the rest of the season, his has always been the oversteery one, and maybe it's just the way he likes it.
Yeah, it's got to be a driver preference. I mean, there's such a difference in the way people like their cars set up. Some people like cars to understeer. Very rarely, but a lot of people, the only way you can really, in my view, make a front-wheel drive car work is having a lot of oversteer. But certainly, some people, you know, some people can get away with it. And Fabrizio Giovanardi's one who's pretty famous for driving an understeery car, and somehow he makes it work. But generally speaking, if you've got understeer in a front-wheel drive car, you're going backwards. But
he loves it though. Thiago Montero's just gone 3rd quickest. Norbert Mikulits is down to 4th. Bernardi 5th. But who just bumped Morbidelli out? Dusan Borkovic, he was in already. Who wasn't in? Maybe it was Borkovic. I thought Borkovic was in already. Last couple of seconds, last minute. Norbert Mikulits with the fastest first sector of all. Maybe Thiago Montero wasn't in the top 15 or top 17. I thought he was before, though. Gabriele Tarquini, incidentally, was 18th and has now just popped up to 5th. So that was a save-your-life lap from Gabriele. Ooh, Giancarlo Bruni's been growing a goatee during the break.
Thompson just gone back into 12th as well. Just jumped back up and knocked Huff out.
Mikulits has gone fastest of all again. So this is a real scramble. There's the Lada pit wall. Marco Calovolo, Jimmy's engineer. So Huff is out. Dusan Borkovic is out, and 1.693 away stays out. So Tomo's Lada in 12th is in Q2 at the moment. Who else has got a lap going? Still got a few seconds left. Is anyone on a flyer? Not on our timing at the moment. Rob Huff. Last attempt for Huffy. We're watching Dusan Borkovic heading back to the pit lane. Checkered flag is out. He knows he's not in. Here comes Huff. What's he got? Now this is going to be Rob or Jimmy, isn't it? Because if Huff goes in, Thompson goes out, and if Huff doesn't, Thompson stays in. And the timing screen just chunted again. Oh, Huffy desperately trying to get it slowed down.
Right on the limit there, isn't he? You can just see it squirming around on the brakes, and the tail starting to come round.
Won at the Silverstone Classic last weekend in a ex-Super Touring or ex-British Touring Car Championship Super Touring Ford Mondeo. He said when he was growing up, that was the car, the daddy of them all. Can't believe I got a chance to race, he said, and won the race as well at Silverstone. Stunning weather at Silverstone, and great weekend. A lot of very busy drivers. I think Rob was driving 2 or 3 different cars as well as the Mondeo.
The Super Touring race was a packed-out grid as well.
Yeah.
There's a lot of big names in there, and a lot of cars from
Soper and Cleland both back on the grid, avoided each other.
Yeah, and Turkington was in an old BMW as well.
Yeah. So I think you know, in fact, like adopting the attitude of the Scottish football team to World Cup competition, I think John Cleland allowed everybody else to have a fair crack at the whip. Huffy fastest of all in the second sector. He goes 11th. Hugo Vallant is 12th. Thompson is 13th. Rob is in and Jimmy is out. And that's the battle, unfortunately, when you are down in the bubble. So James Thompson did enough to get in, but Rob Huff did a little more, and he stays in.
It's got to be encouraging for the lot of boys to see themselves actually up in these places. I mean, it's been pretty rare we've seen them scrapping to get into this top 12. You know, they're normally kind of accepted that they don't beat any Chevrolets or anything, and here we are seeing them ahead of quite a few.
Big lap from Huffy. Gets in front of Hugo Vallant Chevrolet, in front of teammate James Thompson, in front of Dusan Borkovic, in front of Gianni Morbidelli. So Thompson consigned to 13th for both races. Dusan Borkovic 14th for both. Gianni Morbidelli, a race winner this year, don't forget. He will start 15th in both races ahead of Michael Kozlowski. And then the TC2 pole sitter, Franz Engstler, in his Liquimoli BMW ahead of John Philippi. And our newcomer for this weekend, young Argentine Camilo Echevarria. Now, he doesn't even drive in Super TC 2000. He drives in the Saloon Car Championship here. And the youngster making his World Touring Car debut. So he's in the second Liquimoli BMW. Norbert Michelisz, fastest of all in that session, but he's still got to be fastest or in the top 5 in Q2 and then try and get the car onto pole position. It's interesting. Honda, Citroen, Honda, Honda, before we get the first of Chevys. So that's the Honda here certainly seems to be a little step further in front of where it was when we left Europe.
Yeah, very possibly, but we know that they've made some improvements, but then it's always hard to judge from this first qualifying session, because the guys who know they're going to be in the top 5, the Citroens, for example, they don't really need to put too much effort in. We've got an interview here.
One of the casualties of Q1 is Dusan Borkovic. Dusan, first 2 sectors look great on that last lap. A mistake in the last one?
Yes, in first stint with the new tires, I made mistake on the braking for turn 4, and on the second stint I had a good 2 sectors, but made mistake on the third sector, so I'm out. I could be in the first 12, but that's racing. I was over my limits.
Frustration. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Takes a lot more than that to
So
wipe the smile off his face.
There for you.
Yeah. So near and yet so far. But no, considering the way things have gone the last few races, I think credit to the boys. They took my car back to Manucore and has had a few problems with it the first half of the year. So they worked really hard and fluid over here. So they've been working tirelessly. So really pleased to be. At least we're fighting for that top 12, you know, which always gives us a chance in race 2, and that's where we're at the moment.
It certainly is, and like you say, you are at least all very, very close.
Yeah, 10th of the second would have got me into the top 10, so, you know, missed by small margins.
Quick word from James Thompson, looking a little bit more upbeat as well, and he knows that if Huff's car can get in there, then there's the potential for his car to get in there as well. But there are more than 12 cars capable of getting in the top 12 as the green flag comes out to start Q2 without James Thompson.